Om Ajnanatimirandhasya Jnananjanishalaakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Presthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swamin Nitinamine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Udirayet. In this session, we will be discussing from the 5th verse of the 9th chapter of the 1st canto of Srimad-Bhagavatam. Tatra brahmarshayas sarve devarshayascha sattama rajarshayascha tatrasan drashtum bharata pungavam. The meaning of this verse is, just to see the chief of the descendants of King Bharata, that is Bhishma, all the great souls in the universe, namely the rishis amongst the demigods, brahmanas and kings, all situated in the quality of goodness, were assembled there. So the background is that the Pandavas, headed by Yudhishthira along with Krishna, have gone to the scene of the battle of Kurukshetra, and there they have gone to see Bhishma, who is lying on a bed of arrows. And not only the Pandavas, but even all the great souls in the universe. So there was interplanetary travel in those days, and great souls like rishis, all varieties of rishis, devarshi, rishi among the demigods, brahmarshi, rishi among the brahmanas, rajarshi, rishi among the kings, all of them who are situated on the quality of goodness, sattva guna, they came to see Bhishma because Bhishma was such a great personality. So in the purport, Srila Prabhupada explains, the rishis are those who have attained perfection by spiritual achievements. There are both material and spiritual methods of attaining different kinds of perfection. Just like by practice of Ashtanga Yoga, one can get what is called as Ashta Siddhi, 8 kinds of material perfection. One can become very small, one can grow very big, one can become very light, or one can become very heavy. Or one may manufacture a planet, one may extend one's subtle hand thousands of miles away and pick up something from a very, very distant place. Like that, different material achievements are possible by practice of Ashtanga Yoga. But the rishis are those who attain perfection by spiritual achievements. That means they practice spiritual life. And by advancement in spiritual life, they are able to attain certain types of perfections, like becoming enlightened in transcendental knowledge, acquiring some powers by which they freely travel from one planet to another planet without any machine, without the help of any aircraft. Like this, the rishis have so many types of perfection. Now, Srila Prabhupada says here, such spiritual achievements can be earned by all, whether one is a king or a mendicant. Mendicant means a beggar. So, spiritualists keep themselves in a poverty-stricken condition because they don't want to be carried away by wealth, they don't want to become greedy, they don't want to become affected by the opulence. So they keep themselves in a very poverty-stricken condition, but they're very humble. They're very simple. They're very straightforward. They work for the welfare of all the people in general in this world. So such rishis are those who have spiritual achievements, and it is possible for anyone to practice spiritual life, make advancement, and obtain some or all of these spiritual perfections, even material perfection. So further, Srila Prabhupada says, Bhishma Deva himself was also one of the brahmarshis and the chief of the descendants of King Bharata. That means Bhishma Deva, he first attained Brahmanical status. That means he engaged in activities by which he became learned, he became self-controlled, he became peaceful, he became shamo, damo, tapas, shaucham. He became a tapasvi. Shantirarjavame, he became very tolerant. He acquired all those qualities by practicing brahmacharya. And then he also became the rishi, brahmarshi, that is one who has achieved some perfection by spiritual advancement. So that is Bhishma Deva's position, brahmarshi. So to see this brahmarshi, not only because he was a brahmarshi, but because he was the greatest among the transcendentalists of his time. Because of his devotion to Krishna, he was among the greatest of transcendentalists. So all great souls came to see that now Bhishma is going to quit his body. How is he going to quit? Srila Prabhupada further clarifies, all rishis are situated in the quality of goodness. In this material world, there are three qualities that are working: goodness, passion, ignorance, or sattva guna, rajoguna, and tamoguna. Of these three qualities, goodness or sattva guna is the best. And those who are householders, they should actually take advantage of rishis traveling and knocking on some doors of some householders. They should take advantage of taking association, taking blessings, and hearing some good instructions or valuable advice like that. The next two verses are together. I'll read them. This is the 6th and the 7th verse of the 9th chapter of the 1st canto of Srimad-Bhagavatam. Parvato narado dhaumyo bhagavan badarayanaha brahadashvo bharadvajaha sashishyo renukasutaha vasishta indrapramadaha trito gritsamado asitaha kakshivan gautamo atrischa kaushiko atha sudarshanaha. So a list of saintly persons who plan to visit Bhishma, while Bhishma was about to quit his body. So their names are mentioned here. I'll read the translation of these two verses, 6 and 7 of the 9th chapter of the 1st canto of Bhagavatam. All the sages like Parvata Muni, Narada, Dhaumya, Vyasa, the incarnation of God, Brihadashva, Bharadvaja, and Parshurama and disciples, Vasishta, Indrapramada, Trita, Gritsamada, Asita, Kakshivan, Gautama, Atri, Kaushika and Sudarshana were present. So many sages assembled there in order to see the passing away of a great soul. So in the purport, Srila Prabhupada has explained about some of the sages. He begins by explaining the sage Parvata Muni. He says, Parvata Muni is considered to be one of the oldest sages. He is almost always a constant companion of Narad Muni. Narad Muni and Parvata Muni always travel together, generally. They are also spacemen competent to travel in the air without the help of any material vehicle. So this science is unknown to the modern man, but about 50 years back, let us say, there used to be yogis who would travel from one place to another without the help of a machine. Yogis can travel through the Ganga river. Let's say they are in Haridwar and they want to come to Prayag. So they take a dip in the Ganga in Haridwar and they come out of the Ganga in Prayag. So this is a siddhi, a perfection. And those who are very strict Ashtanga yogis, when they perfect their Ashtanga yoga meditation, they are able to actually utilize the siddhis for their travel. So one of the siddhis is they travel through the Ganga river. They travel through a ray of sun. They travel without a machine by simply deciding to go from one place to another. So like this, both Parvata Muni and Narad Muni are able to travel without the help of any material vehicle. Parvata Muni is also a devarshi, or a great sage amongst the demigods, like Narada. Narada is also a devarshi. So it is described here, Parvata Muni was present along with Narada at the sacrificial ceremony of Maharaj Janmejaya, a son of Maharaj Parikshit. After Parikshit, Janmejaya took charge of ruling the world. And Janmejaya once decided to perform a big sacrifice, for which he invited Narada as well as Parvata Muni. In this sacrifice, all the snakes of the world were to be killed. Janmejaya was angry that his father was killed by a snake bird. So he decided to kill all the snakes of the world. But this sacrifice was stopped by some mature sages instructing this Janmejaya, don't annihilate the entire race of snakes. No, that is not proper. Just because one snake somehow bit your father and your father died, it does not mean that you kill all other snakes. So on the advice of the saintly persons, he stopped the sacrifice. Parvata Muni and Narad Muni are called Gandharvas. Also, because they can travel in the air singing the glories of the Lord. Devotees generally sing the glories of the Lord everywhere. So Parvata Muni and Narad Muni, while they are traveling, they are also singing the glories of the Supreme Lord Krishna. Since they can travel in the air, they observed Draupadi's Swayamvara ceremony from the air. They didn't have to land on the earth. No. From the air itself, they saw the ceremony, marriage ceremony of Draupadi. It's actually called a Swayamvara ceremony, where she selects her own husband. Like Narada Muni, Parvata Muni used to visit the royal assembly in the heaven of King Indra. So Indra receives great saintly persons and he takes advice from them. So both Parvata Muni and Narada Muni were regularly visiting Indra. As a Gandharva, sometimes he visited the royal assembly of Kuvera, one of the important demigods. Kuvera is the treasurer of the demigods, and Kuvera has got a very important position. So the Kuvera's assembly, sometimes both of them used to visit. So this is the brief description of Parvata Muni. I'll stop here. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.